Basketball can be played in countless ways, but let's be real. Most players have the same type of style and bring very little, if anything, to get excited about. If you want your game to stand out, you've got to bring something different to the court than the boring majority. It's not just about having skills, it's how you use them. Most play in a way that is just not fun to watch. They lack creativity, imagination, and simply play in a forgettable way. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're ineffective, but the style is simply ordinary. And this is widespread at every level with relatively few exceptions. I recently went to a high school basketball game and I enjoyed spending time with my dad and my son Dash, seeing people I know and soaking in the atmosphere. But when it came to the game itself, it just wasn't very entertaining. It was a stark contrast to the games I played in high school. The type of games where the crowd was electric, the players were locked in, and every moment felt like something special could happen. Now, I'm not saying that every player was terrible in the game we watched. Some were solid, effective, and had potential. But what I am saying is that the style didn't stand out much. Now, some may like a more boring game. That's fine. I've seen a lot of coaches who coach a very ugly style and have been successful. But personally, I don't get excited about that. That doesn't stand out to me in a good way. In fact, it's a prime example of basketball I don't want to watch. Recently, my dad was reading something that said that NBA viewership is down 25%. Well, my mom heard him say this, and my mom pipes in and says, well, it's because it's not fun to watch. This isn't to say there aren't superb NBA players, and there are a rare few who do have an entertaining game. But the overall style of play, generally speaking, is not very fun to watch. Watching a three-point contest for an entire game is not what I want to see. For basketball that's fun to watch, I'll look up Pistol Pete, Jason Williams, Allen Iverson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Jamal Crawford, and others. Even a competitive game filled with good players can fail to be exciting if it's missing creativity, flair, and imagination. Very few play with imagination. This reminds me of Pistol Pete Maravich's philosophy on the game of basketball, which I first learned about as a kid. As Pete Maravich once explained in an interview, when people ask me, why do you play? Who do you play for? I said, I play for the fans. But you don't play to win? I said, that's ludicrous. Of course I play to win. But I play for those people out there to entertain them, because if you don't entertain them, they're not going to come back. I understood that when I was 7 years old. As a kid, I absorbed this mindset from watching Maravich videos, while my dad and my mentor, Bruce Moore, encouraged me to play with that same type of flair. It drove me to want to put on a show every time I stepped on the court and play in a way that was unforgettable. And it still does. Even when there's no crowd, playing this way just makes the game way more fun.
I mean, I've been doing this since I was shell-hided with Turtle. And
Superhandles, the gold standard for crafting an elite game that is unforgettable.
Several years ago during the 2019-2020 season, my dad had season tickets to Oregon State men's basketball games. I went to most of the home games with him that year, and the atmosphere was fun to be in. Oregon State does a great job with game entertainment. It's a fun experience going to the games. But for all the fun happening at Gill Coliseum, the action on the court was missing something big. While we saw some competitive games and occasionally saw some highly skilled players, one thing that was lacking was flair. Through the entire season, I did not see a single behind-the-back pass. Not once. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I'd like to go out on that court right now and bring some life into Gill Coliseum. Throw a behind-the-back pass, even in my jeans. Now, this is a thought I've had many times going to OSU games as well as other games. Contrary to the opinions of some, you can actually play to win and have a lot of fun at the same time. Maravich also said, if I have a choice whether to do the show or throw a straight pass, and we're going to get the basket either way, I'm going to do the show. That mindset is inspiring to me. If you look back at how Maravich played in college and the pros, not only was his skill set exceptional, but his creativity on the court shined like a spotlight on a dark night. His game would still stand out big time, even today. Yes, skill is vital to pull off certain actions, but it's how you use your skills, the way you move, and the way you play that define your impact on the game. It takes quick mental processing to react in the moment, adapt to a situation, or make a play that no one sees coming. But the style in which you play can make you stand out, both individually and as a team. And here's the good news. The bar is pretty low. Most players and coaches don't think this way. They're going along with the standard way of doing things. But to actually stand out, you need to do things differently. It takes skill building, mental preparation, imagination, focused practice, and more practice. The great thing is, you can start right now by tapping into your imagination as you work on your game. Stop making excuses for why you can't train your game. Maybe it's raining, maybe you don't have access to a hoop. None of that has to stop you. Find a wall, grab a ball, and get to work. Throw a behind the back pass off the wall, a post, or a backboard. Then catch it and do it again. Dribble into a move and let your creativity flow. Throw a no-look pass. While there might be other challenges, one of the biggest limitations is how far you're willing to push your imagination. So unlock it, expand it. When you commit to this mindset, training both on your own and in live situations, you won't just play basketball. You'll put on a show that they'll be more likely to remember. Notice that this begins with how you think. If you want to do the same thing as everybody else, you're going to blend in. But you know what? You have an imagination. You can use your imagination to your advantage. And the results can be beautiful, believe me. If you combine that with developing elite skills, and you have imagination and quick mental processing ability, and you have strategies that are well developed to put your team in the best position possible to win, wow, it could be something spectacular. But very few think outside the box. Most are very comfortable inside the box, and very few have the discipline to stick to this long term. But if you do, you could be different. You could play differently, and your game could stand out big league. You'll have superhandles style, and that's about as rare as a flying car. It's not against the rules to play differently than the majority. You don't have to blend in. So have fun and be different. Commit to doing it long term, and push yourself. I think you'll be very happy with the results. And here's another thing. It makes the game way more fun, both to play and to watch. So in other words, soup up your game and gain an unfair advantage.